safe to you and your team. Our next guest knows exactly how difficult it is to flee the violence, experiencing it firsthand while on a trip to Israel. Jonathan Schanzer, executive director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, was tasked with getting his group of 20 people out. One of our producers was there with Jonathan and credits him with getting them to safety. Let's bring in Jonathan now to tell us more about this. This sounds wild. Walk us through your experience. Glad to see you're safe.
Yeah, it's good to be home, got to tell you. But yeah, we were there for 4 days in an active war zone. And look, I've been to Israel a number of times with other kinds of rockets, following smaller rockets out of Gaza shot by, Hamas. These are ballistic missiles, and I think people maybe sometimes lose the sense of how serious that is. These are missiles that are size of a bus with a ton of explosives, literally a ton of explosives on the warhead. We had a group of 18 people, and we had to get them to shelter repeatedly. Most nights, we went down 2 or 3 times. People were running on fumes, not getting a lot of sleep. Ultimately, though, I think we were very fortunate. Not everybody was as fortunate. We crossed over the Jordanian border as refugees, and then from there made our way to Greece. And from Greece, finally, we found our way home.
I wanted to ask you, too, from hearing the sirens to getting to a shelter, what kind of timing are we talking about? We've seen people, I guess, are running to get into those shelters. Is that what you experienced?
Yeah, I mean, we were in a hotel, and the hotel was very safe. And actually, thankfully, Jerusalem was not targeted in any significant way. I think there was only one missile that fell anywhere near us in Jerusalem. And so that was, I think, one bit of good news for us. The other is we were in a very safe hotel. We had to go down multiple flights of stairs if we were in our rooms. For example, I was on the 7th floor, so I had to just calmly make my way down. No one was running. People were walking calmly, usually had about 10 to 20 minutes before impact when they saw missiles fired out of Iran. And so we made our way. For me, like I had to get down to -3, 3 floors below the lobby, and that's where the shelter was. And we would spend anywhere from, let's say, a half hour, 45 minutes to one night we were there for multiple hours on end.
Wow.
And Israelis braced for a massive salvo.
Those are your personal pictures of you in the shelter. And thank you for explaining that. -3. That is how far below the ground you needed to be. And that's really important for our viewers to understand what we're talking about here. We're just getting word now that the State Department is helping citizens get out of Israel. Mike Huckabee posting this now. Flights are taking off, that they are able to get some people out. Let's talk about how difficult it was for you and your team to get out, the group of people that you were with, from the bomb shelter to getting on a plane. What was that like?
Well, it's interesting. The first step for me was to try to just get a plane out. And, we were looking at private companies that would be able to do that for us. But it didn't matter because with the airspace closed, there was just no way of getting out. And they were not changing the rules on that. They were afraid of having any aircraft on the ground. They were extremely fearful, I think they still are, that the international airport just outside of Tel Aviv would be targeted. That is undeniably one of the war aims of the Islamic Republic. So by the 3rd day, as missiles were coming down, the group was really, you could tell their nerves were starting to fray. People weren't getting much sleep. And we were running out of programming options for this group. We had intended to take them on tours, and we couldn't do it. And so I got together with our team back here in D.C., and I just said, look, we've got to get out over land. Yeah. And, I'd been to Jordan many times, and, they're an ally of the United States. They have an extremely cold peace with the Israelis. It's not an easy thing to navigate, but we were American citizens, and we knew that the Jordanians would respect our passport and respect us as we came through. So we got to Jordan, and then from there we took a flight to Greece. Wow. But it was a lot of moving parts. And what they all tell you this is that the most danger that you will encounter as you try to pull off an extraction like this is the ride from wherever you were that was safe to the border. because there's no shelters. And
Yeah.
if missiles start falling, you've got nowhere to go.
Wow. I mean, that is so incredible. I'm so glad that you guys are safe. And I also want to add about these flights that we're hearing that the State Department is helping citizens get out of Israel. I want to add that these are assisted departure flights that the State Department is helping to arrange. So we'll continue to monitor that because now we've got more movement going on. Jonathan, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today here on News Nation. Appreciate it.